Well, I believe that it is important for everyone, not just public officials, to know their health status. It is based on that philosophy that even our public institutions, for example, the University of Ghana, when you gain admission as a student, you are given a period to undergo medicals so that the school or the institution will have an idea your medical conditions even before you embark on your academic journey. However, after the examination is conducted, the medical examination is conducted, all your records, the details of your condition are kept secret or are kept between you, the patient, or you, the individual, and the hospital. Because it is important to know the details to also inform further medical actions, be it reviews. If you want to do a blood donation, you will pull that file up and find out whether or not, per your condition, you are qualified to participate in a blood donation exercise. And so every individual, all of us, must always undergo regular medical checkups and know our conditions, our state. But I do not subscribe to the proposition that such medical details be made public.
Right.
Except if it has any implications on your work. Except if it has any implications on your work as a public servant. I do not support the idea, and this is my personal view, that because you are a public official, after you conduct medical examination on yourself, the results should be published or should be made public because you're a public servant or a public official.
Okay.
I think it is important for us to draw the distinction and say, even though you are a public official, even though you are a politician, you are a man of the people and for the people, there is always, to a large extent, some aspects of your life that must remain private. With regards to our vice president, government has been very, very transparent. When she was rushed to the hospital, UGMC, and when she was flown out of the country, the Honorable Minister, government spokesperson, the Honorable Felix Ofosu-Kwakye, put the information out there. I think putting it out there that our vice president was on a medical leave or seeking further medical attention, in my view, should suffice. We really do not need to go public with what the specific issues are. Like I said, except if it has any implication on her work. She is back. She is in good condition. We heard her speak. We saw her. And like President Mahama said, when I saw her yesterday, I felt she looked even way much younger than she was during the campaign season. And so I was very excited seeing her in that lively mood. Let us not push public officials to put out there their medical conditions, because we are still a fledgling democracy. And I tell you, even now that public officials are not required to put their health status or conditions out there, we have seen how people have tried and attempted to play politics with people's health.
Right.
Recall the late President Mills and how his health became a major issue in the campaign. And beyond that, we have seen, even at the local level, how the health conditions of aspirants of politicians became topical issues. And I don't think it is fair to the individuals involved to have their health records put out there publicly for it to become a matter of public discussion. The details can be kept private, like I said, except when those details may matter in the discharge of their duties as public servants. What really, for me, should be the argument? What really should be the cause or the issue for contention should be how we can ensure that our health facilities locally, the capacity is built such that we should be able to provide much needed medical care to our citizens, not just public officials within this country. Again, what should be of concern to us isn't necessarily a public officer's personal health records.
Okay.
But we should be concerned more about their ability to deliver.
Right.
And if we are convinced that regardless of whatever conditions or health challenges they may have, they are still able to deliver on the mandate of the people, then we have no point even discussing issues about their health. So, Moro, I do not subscribe to the idea at all that personal health records of public officials should be made public.
So there is this debate as to whether health status of government officials, especially those at the higher level, should they be kept confidential? I don't really think they mean private, meaning confidential.
Yes.
I disagree with Honorable here for a number of reasons. I'll even use his own metric, his own standard, that if it will affect their work, then we should disclose what is wrong with them. If he uses his own method, then the vice president's health records ought to be disclosed. It affected her work. She wasn't around for at least a month. If we use your own standard, that if it will affect your work, that's what he said, that if it will affect your work, then we ought to know what is wrong with you. And we said, of course, it affected her work. She wasn't here. The work that she could have done.
My understanding of affecting her work is not when she takes a brief break. I think my understanding of affecting her work is where she is not incapacitated to do her job.
If that is your interpretation,
That's what I'm saying.
That's how I understood it.
But as I said, okay, my interpretation was if the fact that you are sick affects your work. So if he meant on daily basis, then he need to be clear about that.
Okay.
But then that will still be a poor metric. Do you understand that? Because the daily basis could be the 1 month period of which it affected their work. I mean, as a lawyer, that's the interpretation I would put there. If it affects your work, then that's standard. But I take it, but if that's what he meant, going forward, is that what he meant?
Yeah.
The 1 month man was the 1 month she was away.
So basically,
going forward.
I'm unwell.
Can I come in?
I can't serve as vice president anymore.
Okay.
Anymore.
Okay.
So this is what is wrong with me.
And okay, what do we even need to know? Because she's going home anyway. Then in that case, I can't serve anymore.
Yes.
I'm going home. What I need to then disclose.
But if I'm going for medical,
okay, let's agree it's a poor.
Let me tell you.
I think it's a poor.
Let me tell you. No, it cannot be a poor.
You have your chance.
I'm telling you. Even you as a lecturer,
you can see
there are days. I am sure in your
but I am a
career
I'm not the vice president of the country.
So there are days that you may not be well, so you could not attend classes. There are days your students may not be well, and
you
they
get
don't come for
opportunity to
classes.
come.
It doesn't in any way mean that they are incapacitated.
Let me flow,
we are
my
talking
friend.
about when the condition affects your ability to deliver well.
Okay, I take that back. I take that back. Now,
interpretation.
I believe public figures, we ought to know what is wrong with them.
Yes.
And elsewhere, as you rightly said, people know what is wrong with public officials. Prince Charles, for example, well, King Charles, no longer Prince Charles. He has been prince for long. King Charles, for example, when he was diagnosed with cancer, prostate cancer, he made it very clear that I had prostate cancer and I started seeking treatment. Ted Kennedy, when he was diagnosed with brain cancer, he did not just tell the people of the United States that I had brain cancer. He even told them his prognosis, that they said I have less than 1 month to live. And as you writers make reference to President Joe Biden, he made it very clear that I have been diagnosed with cancer, as well as he said he had Alzheimer's. Why do public officials ought to do this? They do so for a number of reasons. As somebody who is also a health professional, at least I'm a qualified nurse for the past 18 years. It's very important. One, there is stigma attached to what? Sicknesses. And if you have a public official as high as the king who says that I have prostate cancer, this disease is real, let's go for checkup, early detection can help. You help to demystify that kind of sickness and to tell the people that regardless of who you are, sickness is real. Even the most powerful person gets sick. When you do that, you demystify. If there's any stigma attached to any sickness, God forbid something like HIV, where we know HIV no longer kills, it's your inability to find out that you are HIV positive is what kills you. But once we detect that you have HIV, they can prevent it from developing into AIDS. So when you do that, you demystify sickness. And people can then go for early checkup. I'm not saying, please, don't misquote me. I'm not saying the vice president has cancer. I'm just saying one of the reasons why we want to know the health status. You provide guidance to the public that this thing can be treated. We can deal with this issue. And this is why I'm going through. Nobody would then wish you to be dead. No. People will actually praise you. That is why they do it elsewhere, to demystify the sickness and to use and to take stigma out of it. A second reason why you want to really know is the Constitution, for example, made it very clear. At one point, can citizens said, if you are president or vice president, you ought to go. Because we want you to pay full attention to the management of the republic. That's why the Constitution is, the spirit of the Constitution requires them to disclose it. Because the Constitution envisions one day whereby somebody might have infirmity of the mind and body. And that's the time you ought to go. And I know this is where the people, they usually say, we bring politics in. But this is not politics. If we had known the health status of our former president who passed away, we wouldn't have allowed you people to make him jog from the airport when we know that the guy was suffering from cancer. In order to prove to Ghanaian that he didn't have it, this guy was asked a joke, of which some of your own said that that contributed towards his early demise. So, and again, we use public money to help support such people. If we have used public money to help support you, the public ought to know you're no longer ordinary citizens such as Ishaq. He was using me as an example. I'm an ordinary lecturer, for God's sake. I'm not a public figure. He is a public figure. And if you choose to accept certain rules, some level of confidentiality of you would have to be sacrificed. It comes with the nature of that office. And that is why elsewhere, they even go in the United States, they actually go for an annual checkup and they will update the public. There's nothing wrong with that. If you see anybody who is playing politics at all, it was the NDC who played politics with this area. I remember listening to the Honorable Foreign Minister Ablakwa, who was saying that even traveling abroad to seek medical treatment has to be banned. That public officials should not be allowed to go abroad. If they had introduced it, that you cannot travel abroad to seek medical treatment, what ought to have happened to our vice president? And even the advanced countries, such as Britain or America, I have seen instances in Britain whereby there's a pioneer treatment, and Britain doesn't provide it, but Hungary provides it, and the person make a decision to take the child to Hungary, and the person get better. Meanwhile, the court had even ruled that such a child cannot go out. And the father managed to smuggle the child to Spain. It became an international issue, and the child get better. So that side of the debate, I always support that. Even though we might, unless our health system get better, public official, we shouldn't use public money to help public official go abroad for treatment. But if somebody have their own private money, they want to seek treatment abroad, I think that will even be unlawful to stop such people from traveling abroad to seek treatment. Because when you are sick, you are sick. Wherever you can get help, your best interest, we need to have that in mind. So I believe we need to know what is wrong with him. For that reasons I've already advanced.